And away we go. It is the Nightcap live edition post-game show right here on BearcatJournal.com. You know the drill, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Go to the app, go to the website, get the app. From the app, you can have it delivered right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, or head down to Dayton, Kentucky, Wednesday through Sunday. Tell them to pump it up and save yourself 15% off of your order. All right. That was something. That was something.
That was the most something I've ever seen in my entire life.
You weren't around for the Bowling Green game, so
there's no way it could have been worse than that. There's no way.
You have no idea, sir. You have no idea. Let Keegan know in the chat if you like the OGs watch Jess on the sidelines for the Bowling Green game. My puppy's playing with the squeaky toy right now, so we're gonna have to deal with that for a few moments. But yeah, Bearcats win in overtime, 86-81 over Howard, and I'm sure we'll get to all of the other things that have been going on. Keegan, how much have you enjoyed this job the past 36 hours?
Oh, it's all been a treat up until I had to watch what looked like three people who had their iPhones on a tripod that didn't work. I've seen water polo broadcasts that have been 100 times better than that. Student run broadcasts. I do want to start. I do find it funny that a Division I university with the alumni stream of Howard can't afford a mop. Apparently, they were cleaning the floors with their feet and Gatorade towels. And I just feel like that's begging for a lawsuit if someone slips and falls and you don't have a mop.
Noah says Bowling Green was so bad and so awesome at the same time. Maybe that's the difference. I don't think there was anything about that broadcast that was awesome. Like the Bowling Green game was so bad that it was great. Like that's how bad that Bowling Green broadcast was. So Bowling Green had a fan that sat like courtside for years. And when he passed, like they didn't realize it, but he had like millions and millions and millions of dollars in the bank. So he had put part of his will aside, went to Bowling Green for them to buy like teams coming up there and playing so they could get high major teams on their court. Like that was the only like it was specified in the will. I love going to games, but I never get to see like really good teams here. Yeah. So here is however many hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring teams here. So Cincinnati went up there and it was straight student run, like a lot like tonight, but it was like the play-by-play guy had a very Boom Goes the Dynamite vibe to him. And the sideline reporter, Jess, and she was playing along like afterwards, like she was in on it on Twitter, like going back and forth with UC fans. It was so bad, it was amazing. This like at Ryan guys, you couldn't. They were the play-by-play guy sounded okay. Somebody asked if we could hear it. The play-by-play guy sat like you could at least kind of hear what he was saying. Yeah. The other two, like, were just screaming. They were just screaming. Like, I didn't have any idea what any of them were saying at any point in time. This is from someone that is very loud. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I tend to be a little bit loud. Yeah, that's the thing, Noah. It was a little more endearing. This didn't seem like it.
Did you think there were three people on the call?
There wasn't?
There was only two people.
Oh, well, one had like two levels of loud then.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's my thing. There is no excuse to mispronounce names when you can go to anyone in the arena wearing Cincinnati gear and ask for how to pronounce it.
What, you didn't like Vic Lakin?
Jr.,
Dick
Lakin Jr.,
my
John Newman Jr.,
bad.
Aziz Bandiago,
Lucas. Simas Lucas.
They talked about Aaron James being in the crowd. I'm almost
They had no
positive.
clue. I heard they had no clue.
It was just James' dad.
So I get what his son plays for Howard. His son is a running back for Howard. And I guess the football team was honored at like halftime.
Yeah.
So that was in their mind. Like, that's why Edge was there, was to see his son honored at halftime, not to see the other kid named James playing point guard for the Bearcats. Victor Lakin was great.
Bandiago.
Yeah. Aziz Banjo. and yes, Cincinnati's ranked number 2.
22.
They're 22. Yeah, we figured out what that was. The Bears. We figured out what that was.
What?
So they got 2 votes in the coaches poll, and they got 2 votes in the AP poll. 22.
I just figured it was a Howard University student media poll. They put
They just decided, well, I mean, more power to them. If they won, they beat a ranked team. That's what they were thinking.
You just rank them one. You rank them first.
Big brain stuff. We beat the number 1 team in the country. No, you didn't. Yeah, we did. You want to see something awesome I got from tonight, though? Great event. Jaden. Hi, Jaden. How you doing?
Hello.
Is that you or your mom? So we were at Rheingeist. It was the 1-year anniversary of Cincy Reigns. And we had a member that works at the New Riff Distillery in Bellevue. And he had told me a while ago that he had a bottle of New Riff bourbon for me, but we had never crossed paths. So he was there tonight. What this? New Riff, malted rye, 6 years, 100 proof. But here's the kicker, Keegs. Boom. How fire is that? How fire is that? So this has to be like a Final Four bottle, right? Like,
yeah, Final Four, Big 12 championship.
Land the number 1 player in the class.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Hi, Sam. I figured it was you, but I didn't, like, if I say something, Jaden's 12. I can't interact with Jaden like I could interact if it was Sam.
10:30 on a school night.
Right. Kelsey's still up, but that's because I had her out at the bar for 3 hours. But yeah, that is fire. He was like, here, and I thought it was just the bottle of whiskey. He's like, look at it. I pulled it out. I was like, oh yeah.
You got to find some way to set that up behind you.
Like this?
Yeah.
Somewhere back there.
Just like nail something to the wall and sit it on it.
Yeah. I got a lot of stuff. Did you even know I had this?
Probably not. No.
It's neon.
How is that? That has to be up.
So the problem is the white is so bright that it bleeds out.
Really?
So it's too, like, you can't put it back there because it's just entirely distracting. I didn't figure that out until after I spent a couple $100 on it. It's been we like for a year I did this with nothing on the walls.
Yeah, and I've seen the
like
old
yeah, like you when you're in the torture room.
In a scene from Dexter.
Right. I did it like a year, but now we've got some stuff going. All right, we got holy crap. We got a lot of people in here tonight. Let's get to you had said you had notes on the broadcast. You want to get to that real quick?
I basically just talked I don't know how there's a basketball game going on and you have a camera angle that's not on the ball and you aren't showing the ball going in the net.
Yeah.
There was one.
That's a tough one.
I tweeted
there was a free throw. We didn't even know what happened.
Dan Skillings runs baseline and tomahawks, and I was like, I think that's what he did. I'm not sure because they didn't show it.
Right. Not great, Bob. Ultimately, They didn't play well. I think that's fair. I think that's more than fair. But I think it's something that can help because you're on the road. Let's face it. Thank you, Connor. He said returning from Thanksgiving break, first road game, playing lower level team, recipe for disaster. Glad we got the win. Time to look forward to Dunk City and Norwood. Yes. Your point guards didn't play well really for the first time for most of the game. But Jizzle is a big reason that they won late in the game. 9 points on the second half. He was excellent after Howard made their, was it 10-1, 10-2 run?
I think so.
To take the
there was
lead.
no stat broadcast.
I know.
And the printer died right at the end of the game, so
Yeah.
they couldn't print stats after the game for the coaches. And they didn't keep track of minutes either.
No.
Mouse in the house.
But I will.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I never want to hear that.
Mouse in the house. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing with the mouse in the house? Like I've heard that's a common basketball phrase.
Say it
like
once
it was,
and don't say
it
it
was
again.
Yeah, it was his crutch. Talk for a second.
Yeah, but I think Jizzle was good, and I like how he actually. There was a point in the game where you could tell that he was going to dictate what they did on offense, and he said, "I'm going to score, so I'm going to go score." And it's rare to see a freshman do that. And Wes Miller could have easily came out of this game having no confidence in his guys at point guard because of how bad both of them played, and while they both struggled. Day more than Jizzle, you can walk away saying I have a true freshman point guard that I can rely on in big moments. And he even said post game to Dan Horde that he might have made the wrong decision taking Day over Jizzle at the end of the game. Connor says, what camera view did they use for the goaltending? A fan's cell phone video. I don't know how that was goaltending. And Dan said the same thing on the radio.
Didn't make any sense.
He swatted the ball before it even got to the rim, like it was still in his hands. And then you don't have the replay stuff. That's where I'm talking about. You can't have a Big 12 school playing a road game on a network that is worth however many billions of dollars and not have sufficient replay stuff. And I'm not talking about for fans to enjoy it.
Keegan, here's something you have to understand. That was not an ESPN Plus game. That was Cincinnati pulling strings to get the Howard broadcast on ESPN Plus. Like if it wasn't for UC being like that game, it would not have been on ESPN Plus.
Okay, then that's where I'll say you can't play Howard. Not that it's a lose-lose situation going on the road to play a small team who you're supposed to kill, because I get why that can make you better. But like the media part of this sport is so big that you have to have sufficient broadcasts. And
I don't disagree with that. I do agree with like you're going to Xavier in a week and a half. I think you need a road game, like a real road game before you go into that environment.
Yeah.
Not that Howard's environment was anything like what they're going to see at Cintas Center, but I think you need that type of adversity. Like, I think that helps, but you do open yourself up to having stuff like that happen, like on replay. Like,
yeah,
that was a pretty damn critical call that cut the lead to 2 that should have been a block.
Yeah.
And he called it way late.
Yeah. And that was basically like that was Howard's Super Bowl. I mean, they had a Hall of Fame running back there just to watch the Bison play basketball and for no other reason.
Thanks again, Connor. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you. How awkward was I didn't see.
I saw that.
The handshake at halftime with the play-by-play guy and the director.
Like Josh Harris and Joe Buck in that Monday Night Football game. It was so bad.
I did see that, Jason. Georgia Tech beat a ranked Mississippi State. That helps.
Eastern Illinois almost beat Kansas. So think about that.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean a whole lot for UC. At least Georgia Tech, like.
I'm just saying, like, in the broad scope of college basketball.
Yeah. Tucker said they need to look at Aziz more, had him open on the roll. That's just a familiarity thing. Like, that's going to come the more that they play together. I thought Wes was interesting in the post game talking about not because they played 5 guards, like it was tough.
Yeah.
To play big, it was tough. I'll give Howard credit on this, Keegan. They milked the clock, which was their game plan, and they hit some tough. I mean, it felt like 6 in a row, 7 in a row. I was at Rhine Guys talking to Coach Satterfield and a couple members of the website, and standing there with them, it felt like there was a stretch in the middle of the second half where they hit 6, 7, 8 in a row that were not easy shots, like mid-range pull-ups with a hand in your face, contested threes. They hit the 1-3 at the beginning of the second half where the guy was like fading to his left, falling into the bench with a hand in his face and splashed it. So I was impressed. Seth Towns is good. I scouted Seth Towns before my wife had cancer.
Yeah,
like, think about how long ago that was.
He was playing against Lance Stevenson, right?
Not quite that long ago, but close. Not quite that long ago, but close. He played high school with Nick Ward. Think about how long ago Nick Ward was at Michigan State. But it was a tough game. It was a game that is going to test Seth Towns for Social Security. But here's what impressed me. Here's my positive takeaway from the game. Cincinnati answered. Like, that's very easily a game that I think he was in Jaron's class, 2016. Yeah. That's very easily a game that can get away from you on a team like that that's just hitting shots. They made 9 threes. They shot 50%. Like, they hit tough, contested, late shot clock shots. I thought my guess is Wes is not going to be happy with their defensive rebounding, because it felt like Howard, they ended up with 8. But the thing about, like, the rebounding numbers, it was 40-28. At least that's what the ESPN box score says. I don't know what to trust in terms of box scores, given that they didn't have them live at the game. But it felt like they got a lot of, like, timely offensive rebounds and kept possessions alive that way. So, yeah, I mean, I really liked what I saw situationally, that they took a punch from Howard. Howard did not back down. Like, that stretch where Jizzle got hot, most mid-major teams go away at that point, right? You get back up by 5 or 7. Cincinnati's on a run. It's late, but Howard didn't back down at all. So I like that. They showed some fortitude. Daniel, it's a weird situation, man. I get that sentiment. You got to feel bad for the guy. He's missed like 4 whole seasons with injury.
Such a crazy sentence. I feel like we shouldn't have 27-year-olds playing college sports.
I think he's only 26. Because that makes a big
26.
difference. But yeah. You feel bad for the kid, like, to have that many seasons. Like, his back has been bad. So, I think he had to have back surgery at one point. Not great. And kudos to him for keep going.
I was going to say basically exactly what you just ended with, but, like, UC goes on those runs and, like, you're expecting them to pull away. You're expecting Simas Lukosius to hit a 3, just keep on feeding Victor Locken, but then they just went down and hit shots, like, in their face. And there was some possessions where UC played bad on defense. Like, I know Dan Skillings struggled every now and then trying to keep up with his guy, which led to some open shots. But they were a really tough team. And I think in terms of finding a road game that you're supposed to win, but also
you're going to get tested.
Yes, you're going to get tested. Howard is a really good one. Just make sure that, they have a camera that's worth more than $200.
I mean, how about the end of regulation when the cameraman just, I think, you know what happened? You know what I guarantee happened, Keegan? He was watching the game and he forgot the camera. Like, his eyes went with the ball. And then at some point he was like, shit.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's what happened.
He's like, I'm getting $6 an hour for this. I got to fix the camera.
Yeah, but Vic had a great game. 19, 6 in overtime. Aziz had 12. It didn't feel like he had that many, but he was good from the free throw line, which helped him out. Dan had 16. I thought Dan was really good. 4 offensive rebounds for Dan. Didn't have his 3-point shot falling, but still 6 rebounds, couple assists, couple steals. And then Newman with 11, Steamos with 11. I want to see that floater more, man. Like, he is money when he gets moving downhill and hits that little floater from 10, 12 feet. Daniel, new member, welcome. Thank you. You guys should all do that if you're here and you're not a member, like you're subscribed, but you can become a member and support the channel for like $5 a month, I think. It's great.
Look at what Kevin Crusher said.
Oh boy. Good thing Vic played like Lake in tonight and not Lake out. Yeah. Very good. Once their big fouled out, yeah, that was kind of bad news for them. You've been told by some nefarious characters that Oakland's actually a tourney team. Those are people that you don't talk to, creative caster.
Nefarious characters.
Those are just people, like, if you have those people in your life, don't talk to them anymore.
Odom also missed the majority of the game.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to, according to the broadcast crew, is one of their most important players.
He only played 5 minutes.
Sierra Canyon played with Bronny.
He's averaging 11 points a game. So yeah, I mean, well, he could have shot him out of the game. He's averaging 11 points a game on 38% shooting from the floor and 25% shooting from 3 this year.
Yeah, Seth Towns is really carrying their 3-point shooting so far this season.
Yeah. And 3 of 7 today, but they were 9 of 21. That's the you go on the road, you can't let the home team slash 50, 42, 85. They're going to hang around. Like, they're going to give you trouble. And like we said, credit to them. They made a lot of challenging shots, but you got to play a little bit better defensively, especially Keegan, free throw defense. Like, you just can't let a team go to the line and shoot 85%.
That's what I was just going to bring up. Like, that's usually
free throw defense has to tighten up.
Yeah. But give credit to UC for 81%. I mean, I feel like
they made a bunch of clutch ones.
Yeah, and that's playing on the road in that environment. That's a place where you could easily only shoot 60%, and then you lose that game.
I mean, the only misses were Vic missed 3. 2 of them were critical and could have been bad, and then Aziz missed 1. But Dan goes 4 for 4, Newman 3 for 3, Day 2 for 2. Jizzle hit his 1 on the and 1. You haven't met Berg yet, have you? You don't even know who Berg is, do you?
Berg?
Yeah.
Justin?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. I guarantee you Justin lost his mind on that jizzle. Like, he took off from far.
Yeah.
Like, he did not have to take off from as far as he took off. And he took off from far. He was probably trying to impress that guy with the same last name as him. I don't know if they've ever met, but
trying to get his autograph. He's a big Colts fan.
Yeah.
What I heard.
This win is amazing for this team. They stayed calm and didn't let Howard's late run phase them. Great game to learn from. It's the old coach thing, right? Like, you're happy because you got the win, but you get to go to practice tomorrow and be an asshole because they didn't do a lot of the things that you want them to do well. They didn't do well. And I mean, honestly, it's the first time the point guard position was shaky.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what it's going to look like if the point guard position is shaky. And also, they scored 80. Yeah, they scored 12 in overtime. They scored 86 points. They only made 3 threes. And still were able to score 86, which 74 in regulation is a dip. But I'll take a lot of the things I saw tonight as a positive.
Yeah.
Not everything. And, again, defensively, that wasn't great. And you could tell it was a situation where Aziz wasn't super comfortable. And it was also, we've wondered what's going to happen in late game, because the guys that had the ball at the end of the game last year are gone. And I think, Day made a couple bad mistakes where I think he was, instead of being aggressive, he was being like passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was getting downhill, but he wasn't looking to score. He was looking for somebody to like break open or whatever. And, I thought Howard did a good job in their assignments in those situations. He has to recognize that and just go score, pull up, hit a 10-footer, get to the rim and get fouled, whatever the case may be. But you can't just go all the way to the rim in late game situations, come out on the other side, and all of a sudden you're back where you started and you wasted 6 seconds off a 10-second shot clock. Like, he's going to have to get better at that. But also, okay, now we've got some things on tape for Day that we can say we're going to get. I think it was clear they wanted him with the ball in his hands in that situation. I thought was it Jizzle that made that bounce line pass to Dan? The baseline bounce pass. That was like, that's what you're looking for from your point guard in that situation. Be decisive. And I didn't think Day was decisive late game with the ball in his hand. So hopefully that's something he can learn from.
Yeah, it's just another kind of an example of it being the best case scenario, because your only game before Xavier is Florida Gulf Coast, and you're likely not going to get tested at home against Florida Gulf Coast. So if you don't get tested today, then you go into that game.
Florida Gulf Coast I'm not ruling out that being a close game.
I know, but I don't know if he's going to play if you expect him to play as bad as you might have expected him to play on the road at Howard Super Bowl. And then your first opportunity for adversity is against Xavier.
Right.
So I think kind of getting that out of the way and a win against a team not named Xavier is huge, and just another silver lining going into next week.
Anything you saw that concerned you, that raised your eyebrow a little?
CJ Frederick. I know Wes Miller has talked about trying to get him more looks and more action. It just kind of feels like if he doesn't establish himself in the first 5 to 8 minutes, it's kind of just decided that they're not really going to try to go to him much. And that could have been Dan being too aggressive from 3 or something of that nature. But I feel like 22 minutes, he shot the ball twice, both from 3, and missed both. So I just think he's a big momentum guy in terms of if he has space, they're expecting him to make it. So I would like to see them intentionally try to get him more looks instead of Dan, because I just think he's obviously a more dangerous shooter than Dan.
Listen, 16.7% from beyond the arc's not terrible during an apparent earthquake.
Or on a cruise ship.
Creative caster. I don't know who you are, but you're funny. We'll now refer to this as the beer goggles game. I'm glad you said that, Kevin. So it was basically they had a laptop up at Rheingeist in the room that handles all the audio video, connected into the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it was running from a laptop to the big screen down in the beer hall, and I was standing probably the length of a basketball court from the screen. And there were definitely times where I didn't have a drink. I didn't have a Cincy Light. I don't, when I have to do these things, I'll have a beverage while I'm doing them, but I don't drink beforehand because I don't want to get in front of the camera and be wasted. So I drank water tonight. And there were a couple times I was like, do I need glasses? Is it really that blurry? Like, I would have to walk the length of a basketball court to get closer to the screen to see like if they were in the bonus or bonus plus at the end of the game. Like, is this a 1-on-1 or is Day shooting 2? I don't know because I can't tell from all the way back there. Like, don't they have like a focus ring, or can't they hit autofocus on that camera?
Do you think they don't know how to tighten the screws on a tripod? Do you think they know how to focus a camera? I figured you'd be looking to see if they were still ranked 22nd in the second half, or if they changed.
No, we figured out why they were ranked 22nd. We already talked about that. 2 votes in coaches, 2 votes in AP, 22nd. I think it's just you. Does Aziz look a little uncoordinated or top heavy compared to how he looked when he played us last year? I don't see that. I saw today a guy that was trying to guard guards that just didn't feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, when he's taller than the guys he's playing, he might look a little top heavy.
Yeah. When he's guarding a guy that's 6'4",
yeah,
he's got to do a lot of. He's an alien. Like, he's a certified, and not like Quadri Moore. We were always convinced, like, when he arrived at Cincinnati, they dropped him off in the middle of like Shakely Lawn from Nebulon 465, maybe Nebulon 420, might have been Nebulon 420. And then when he left, he just went and stood in that exact same spot, and off quad went back to Nebulon 420. But Aziz is legitimately physically, like, it's just weird. It doesn't make any sense how tall, and I mean, he looks like one of those gas station or car dealership things. Like, that's kind of what he looks like. So no, I don't see that. Yeah, everybody was falling down tonight. It wasn't just Aziz.
Seema's foot.
What about was there a problem with his foot tonight?
He was hurt like the last I think he came out 30 seconds into overtime and didn't go back in the game. Sat at the end of the bench.
I couldn't hear anything. Hopefully that's something, you've got 5 days between now and Gulf Coast, and then 6 days to Xavier. So you've got 1 game in 11 days. Hopefully you can get him back on track. How in the hell do we have 168 people in here right now?
Apparently people like you. They're tired of me. They're not tired of you.
No, you're here. Like, this is, you're here. I put that tweet. The one guy was like, I don't like this Keegan guy. I'm like, everybody's rallying around Keegan tonight. Connor, if you have a problem, email support@247sports.com and they'll get you taken care of. If you're not a member of Bearcat Journal, actually, you have 1 hour remaining. 1 hour remaining if you're watching this live to get 75% off a full year of service. So you should do that. You can still watch. You just open up a new tab, new browser tab. You go to bearcatjournal.com, you click join, and you can get Bearcat Journal for 75% off a full year of service. I will give 5 cents of every donation to Keegan, or 5 cents of every subscription to Keegan.
I'm gonna be a rich man. Now I can afford to live. I think it comes out to 7 cents a day with that deal.
$2.24 a month for the next year to have all of Keegan's great coverage and all of my smart ass replies. It's a lethal combination. What's
lighting up the transfer portal hot board?
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that here in a few minutes. Anything else you want to talk about from this game? Better let Keegan get out of here. There's a Alaska State defensive lineman that just hit the portal and he's missing it.
No, that's all you people. That's not me. That's you people. That's Dave.
Look, Dave loves the transfer portal. Like, legitimately loves the transfer portal. Actually, I forgot to, you want to, what are you doing tomorrow night? Are you busy?
Yes, I am.
Okay, never mind.
Depending on how late you go, I could probably get on at the end.
I mean, we're gonna go at 8 like we always do.
Okay.
So if you're busy, no big deal. We'll have plenty to talk about. There's plenty to talk about. But it was like, hey, we should. That was before I knew Aaron, who lives in Siberia, was going to be without the power again tonight. We were hoping tomorrow night you would join us, but you're joining us tonight. So we'll get to that stuff in a little bit. And since there's so many people here, they're all obviously going to want to wait and stick around and hear what we have to say about the football stuff that's been happening over the past 36 hours.
Yes.
Anything else on the basketball side that it sticks out to you that you want to get to?
I will give Victor props. I think in overtime they
needed him and he showed up.
He turned his intensity up. Not only did he convert on the offensive end, but I've been sitting next to you at games and I've said multiple times, I'm like, he needs to go up harder for rebounds and he needs to just play harder,
be more aggressive. Yeah.
And he played his ass off in overtime. And that really was what helped them win the game. You saw him fighting for balls and fighting for rebounds, drawing fouls, making free throws. So I think that was a big, big part of Cincinnati's win. And he finished with 19 points. And I know Skillings had the team lead in points with like 3 minutes left in regulation by a pretty wide margin. And then Vic comes in and just takes it from him.
Todd wants to know if Dave likes the portal more than the NFL draft. I don't think Dave likes his family more than the NFL draft. So it might be NFL draft, family, portal, but the portal is new. Like Dave's been doing the draft his whole life. So
what about realignment?
No, I don't think he likes realignment. I think he likes to make fun of realignment. Like that's where all of that came from. That was all parody.
That's also Dan Simon. That's not Dave. Sorry.
Sure, right. Well, I mean, but they're friends.
Yeah.
They're friends. First ever sports subscription, Connor. That's awesome. Appreciate you, brother. We will make it worth it just for you. Vic Lakin of the Cincinnati Bears. Yeah.
Vic Lakin Jr.
Vic Lakin Jr. Yeah. There's another Vic Lakin somewhere in Russia.
Uh, they called John Newman Jr. too, and I was like, it's just not, and it's the third. It's like factually not correct.
Right. Like, what do you have against John Newman's grandpa? Why doesn't he count? Why doesn't John Newman the first count for anything here?
Oh gosh.
Chad, why did Robert Whaley not work out for UC? Because he punched a police horse in the face. I'm just saying. Keegan, that's Dan Simon. Yeah, he got that corrected. Everyone on the team is a junior and didn't get the memo. Thank you, Lori and Kevin Floyd. Best subscription ever. Don't miss the deal. I appreciate you. You guys are great. Oh, that was Art Long. You're right. That wasn't Robert Whaley. My bad. Art Long, Robert Whaley, Donald Little. It all, that was a long time ago. My 20s were a wild deal. That was all. That was all in my 20s. I don't remember much from then.
Horse punching case starts Wednesday. The jury trial of University of Cincinnati basketball player Art Long. Oh my gosh, his mugshot is him doing like a
yeah, Donald Little tied up his roommate and burned him with a fork that he heated up on his stove. What I'm going to do to Keegan if he screws up transfer portal season.
Oh my gosh, horse punching case.
Is this the first you're hearing of Art Long?
Yeah. Never.
So there was like a street
face. He said to the horse.
So there was like a street party on Short Vine, and apparently things got heated between Art Long and a police horse.
The horse was looking at his girlfriend.
Oh boy. Kids are soft these days. Whaley taped a horse to a chair. Wait. We've gone off the rails. Underrated Bearcat Nick Williams. Nick Williams could shoot the shit out of it. I like Nick Williams a lot. I mean, he wasn't Field or Tony Bobbitt or the gunslinger, but Nick Williams could shoot it. Absolutely.
Confused.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is all stuff before you were born, Keeks.
I know. I'm just so confused. What makes you punch a horse?
The horse probably said something. Wow. Alvin Mitchell could get buckets. Yeah. Alvin Mitchell got shot like 9 times and lived. That really happened at his junior car, like his like the one of the next places he ended up after UC. He got shot 9 times and lived.
I like how you had to say that really happened, but the Art Long thing was just like, yeah, he punched a horse. I don't know why you haven't.
Well, that's legendary Bearcat lore. Like that created a major problem in that season because the horse took Burton's weed. All right, we're getting a little off target. No, Tucker, I'm dead serious. Shoot up Google Alvin Mitchell shooting. I guess he got into an argument with the guy at a gas station at the school he was going to, and then they both left. And Alvin went back to like where he lived, and the guy did a drive-by and shot him like 9 times. Burton had a knife wound in his neck. Roy Bright dropped a gun out of his the band of his sweatpants on campus. Yeah. The horse wouldn't give Hugs a ride home. Oh boy. We've gone completely off the rails on this bad boy. I think it's time to put a bow on the basketball game and talk about some other things.
Yeah.
Which we're probably going to go off the rails again when we get into all of this. But yeah, Cincinnati wins 86-81 in overtime. It wasn't pretty. There was a lot to be concerned about in terms of the way that this team defended and the way that this team handled being on the road for the first time, the way that they let the best player on the other team score 27 points. You've got to be able to shut down Mr. Ed Juckercourt. Oh my God. You guys are the best. You have no idea what Mr. Ed is, do you?
No.
He was a horse that could talk. A horse is a horse, of course, but no one can talk to a horse, of course, unless, of course, that is the horse of the wave is Mr. Ed. It was a sitcom in like the 60s. Ask your dad about Mr. Ed. Okay. He'll tell you. Your dad's like my age. That's what terrifies me. Oh boy. But yeah, they handled adversity well. They took a big punch from a team that was playing well. Like Howard was playing well tonight. And sometimes you're not always going to hit a 30-2 run. Sometimes that 30-2 run doesn't come, and you got to grind it out. This was the first chance to see if they could grind it out, and they did. So I was at least encouraged by that. Let's get to the portal. I don't want to keep you up all night. I know it's probably already past your bedtime, isn't it? Oh, my bedtime's like 2:00.
I wish.
And then I get up at 7. Like, show some fortitude, Keegan. When I get done with this, I have to plan a radio show. I'm in for Mo tomorrow. You want to be on radio tomorrow, Keegan?
I have to sub, depending on what time.
Do you sub at a school that teaches until 6:00?
No, but I have to go see a wedding venue at 5.
I'm trying to get Keegan exposure here, and he's just busy. He's too busy for me. My goodness. I will say again, Tom, this is one of my favorite things about this team. Every night it's different. It's a different combination of guys. Day and Jizzle struggled. Seamoss wasn't at his best. Skilling steps up. Vic steps up. Newman has, double digits. Like Seamoss, even though he struggled on defense, had double digits. This is a team that's able to do it a lot of different ways. Dance all the dances. It's one of my favorite things one of my favorite sayings in sports, because especially in college basketball, it's true. Some nights you're going to play a team that grinds you down to the end of the shot clock and hit shots. And tonight that's what they had. It wasn't up and down. They couldn't get it up and down because Howard kept doing it. They kept being successful, winding the shot clock down, hitting the shot. If they wind the shot clock down, miss the shot, you race down to the other end and score, then you blow them out. Mm-hmm. They kept hitting the shots, and then they could get back and set their defense and continue to slow the game down. So, you got to win a bunch of different ways. This team through 6 games has shown so far that, they're learning how to do that. Not that they're great at it, not that they're a veteran team that's played together for years that is going to be able to do that on command. There's going to be nights where it doesn't happen. They're not going to go undefeated. I'll make a bold prediction. If they do go undefeated, we'll be drinking this Bearcat Journal bottle of New Riff Bourbon in March. But yeah, transfer portal. It's been a fun couple days. Oh, I will just say, thank goodness you're not covering your old school.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't even. I would just send out a tweet and say, "Hey, everyone's leaving," and then
Here's what I'll say, Keegan. This has been pretty much exactly what we talked about. the majority of the movement is going to come from the bottom of the roster. Guys that haven't cracked the 2 deep and don't look to crack the 2 deep. There are going to be some guys that who have made it very clear now that they were asked to move on. I think we can talk about it because they've openly talked about it or made it very clear.
Or at least
Brian
sent
Threats,
some very cryptic tweets.
Brian Threats and Deshaun Pace were asked to move on. They are very talented. But if you're trying to clean up whatever it was that everybody, if the locker room's a problem, you got to fix it. Well,
Yeah.
the staff is actively working to fix like what they felt was the problem. Here's the positive sign I take from these last 2 days, Keegan. You essentially had 2 All-Americans on this team, right? Coming into the season.
Mm-hmm.
Dante Corleone, Mason Fletcher. Both of those guys have made it very clear they believe in this coaching staff. They are on board. They are not jumping ship. And those are guys that I think it's very clear the coaching staff wanted back to be the foundation of what's to come next. I want to be delicate in this because I don't like dumping on people. I put something on the board from a coach that I know and trust that was at a UC game and said Pace was one of the worst attitudes he's ever seen on a sideline. And he was in the SEC. Like the guy was regularly just talking to people in the stands and eating Twizzlers when the offense was on the field. Like you're not going to win that way. This team was 3-9. There were clear problems internally that needed to be weeded out. And I think what we've seen is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the other big thing is the way that you improve your depth is you take the bottom of the roster. And look, it's a business now. NIL is here. Guys are getting paid. We're going to have to talk about it differently than we've kind of talked about it before. But if you're a new staff and you have 10, 15 guys at the bottom of the roster that you don't see a path upward, it is best for everybody involved. If those guys get the chance to move on and you have the opportunity to bring in middle to top of the roster, more top of the roster, if you're talking about the transfer portal, more top of the roster guys to change what we saw happen as they went 3-9.
Yeah, and I think Scott Satterfield is kind of putting a stake in the ground, putting his foot down, saying, this is my team, and I'm going to build the team that I want and the team that me and my assistants want. This isn't Luke Fickell's team anymore. So a lot of guys that were good under Luke Fickell and fit under Luke Fickell because of his coaching style and how he could manage them, it doesn't fit with Scott Satterfield. So I think he's just making it clear, like, I'm not dealing with if it's a culture fit, if it's going to have issues with the locker room. I have a very certain kind of player that I want on both sides of the ball, and it's my way or the highway, basically. So I think that's to see him not be a pushover in that and not try to like cave to the fan base of people who say, well, Deshaun Pace led the team in tackles. Obviously, he's pretty good, so he should come back and lead your defense next year. He's saying, no, it's more important. And like what Randy just said and like what you said, 3-9, you're not losing much if you're losing anyone after a 3-9 season. It would be more beneficial to just do a complete overhaul and start over and try something different, which isn't what they're doing because it's a calculated move in every sense of the word.
Look, Deshaun and Threats are talented.
Yeah.
Like they're two guys that are Power 5, if not ones, they're 1A, 1Bs, 2s. Like they look the part, they have the talent, but both of them need to get on track a little better because, it's you're risking an entire locker room. So there was a question in here that I want to get to that I think explains a lot of this. Connor, I have no idea where he's going. Maybe Marcus would take a flyer on him. I would be shocked if Luke did. They weren't happy with him when they were here because of some of this stuff. But when you have Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant and Darian Beavers and Brian Cook and all the guys that they had that were above them on the roster, you could have a little bit of turbulence at the bottom because it doesn't spread, right? Mm-hmm. Like when those guys are now the veterans, it spreads and it infects the locker room. And you just have to make a decision there. Are we okay keeping those guys around because they're talented and because next year they would likely be starters here, but they create an uncertainty, an unknown about them that I think you have to decide, like, is the juice worth the squeeze? I said that to you earlier on this situation. Like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to continue to push the envelope with a couple guys that aren't culture guys? And the staff decided ultimately, and there was debate. I'm confident that there was a lot of conversations on which way do we want to handle this. And ultimately it ended up on the side of we're going to try something different.
Yeah, and I think it's not just a coach to player issue of they have trouble handling it. It's a player to player issue too. I mean, I've been on baseball teams where I showed up to practice and then I had to remember, like, oh yeah, like, this guy's on this team, and it puts a little bit of a damper on my practice knowing that I have to deal with this and try to manage my own stuff and then lead, and then I have to deal with this. So I think it's better for everyone to get the culture that you want in. And I think it definitely hinders your ability to win games when you can't control people as a head coach. So when you have players getting suspended for a violation of team rules before the biggest home game in the past 10 years
in the history of the program, like
I was going to say Houston to go to the playoff.
I know a lot of people will say that, and I don't discredit that. That was everything was on the table there.
Yeah,
like Oklahoma is coming to town to play your first game as a Big 12 team.
Yeah,
you need everybody on the same page. Were people frustrated about the Miami loss? Yeah, that was stupid. Everybody, Ivan Pace, who was dapping up Miami players going into the locker room, but neither here nor there.
And then you have threats getting ejected in the UCF game, a game where UCF really puts the cherry on top of winning that one with a big completion down the field with like 2 or 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I don't know if they got points on that drive, but they definitely ate up time, taking it away from UC. And this all happens. Pace is however long it was after their first Miami loss. And then threats is during the losing season. So losing brings out the bad stuff. And you have to have a group that will go through losing. Not consistently, but it took one loss for one player to miss an entire game.
Right.
So when you're so used to winning, you're spoiled. And it's not like Deshaun Pace was the linchpin behind the winning, but he was definitely a damn good player. And I think he has an NFL future. What?
Sure.
Like he either needs to put on weight and be a linebacker, or get better in coverage and be a DB.
I don't know that if you asked me to take an over-under on number of regular season snaps he played in the NFL, and you set it at 0.5, I'd probably take the under.
Okay. I think there could be a situation where he has an awakening and he goes to his next school and he kind of figures it out, or it could just be an attitude thing and he doesn't figure it out. but you have to be able to go through losing and go through adversity. And it looked like a lot of these people that not all of them that are entering the portal, some of them they just aren't good enough to play in the Big 12, and they'll find a home in the MAC or at a lower level school. But you have to be able to have a group that will go through losing and adversity as a unit, not as 60-40.
And not separate and become individuals. I think with
Yes.
those two, that's the biggest problem that existed, is instead of rallying as a team to stop the losing, it splintered. And those were two guys that were out for them and not for, Oklahoma State is a perfect example here, right? Like they had a very tough beginning of the season, and that thing could have splintered. Like they 2 years ago, they were awesome. They were in the Big 12 championship game. Last year, they dipped. And this year they were on the verge of, like, is Gundy the right guy for this job? Is he gonna stick around here? And now they're in the Big 12 title game. And they can play in a New Year's Six Bowl if they beat Texas, because the locker room stayed together and progressed and did things the right way. And it sucks to have this conversation. Somebody asked a bigger loss, Pace or Anderson. Sammy wasn't a problem. Yeah. No. Sammy just wasn't medically cleared to play.
I mean,
he was frustrated. Like, I don't fault Sammy for that.
Oh, I do.
Because when you're a player, I don't. Because when you're a player, you want to play, and there's nothing. Have you been told you're medically disqualified before?
No. But
that's what he was told.
He tweeted verbatim, "This medical staff has a lot to do with it."
Well, yeah, because they ruled it. They deemed him out. Like, he doesn't See, I'm not condoning it, but I'm saying in his mind, he wants to play, and the medical staff's keeping him from playing. I'm sure he's got people every day. How bad were they at corner? I'm sure he's got people every day. Why aren't you out there, bro? Well, the medical staff isn't letting me out there. Like, it was dumb. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do, but I'm saying it came from a place of, like, I want to be on the field helping my team.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the place that the other two were coming from. Like, if that makes sense. I know.
But I wouldn't. I can't understand being that disrespectful towards people who are looking out for nothing but your best interests.
I know. I'm not condoning it. Like I said, I know. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do. I'm saying it was coming from a place of, like, I want to be out there trying to help get this thing turned around.
And
they won't let
hindsight.
Well, yeah, they're trying to save your life potentially.
Hindsight, he was a cornerback one, like, locked down by a wide margin, which I thought it would be Jordan Young, and I thought Sammy would have an opportunity for a breakout year. But
by
Sammy
the end
was
of
just
camp,
going to be
Sammy
the
was
best corner.
So much better. Yeah, Sammy was so much better. Was Miles asked to leave? No. The two guys that weren't, of what we've seen so far, my knowledge is the two guys that weren't asked to leave were Miles, because they really liked the combination of Corey and Miles, and they plan on using multiple backs.
Mm-hmm.
Corey had established himself in that top spot, and Miles wants to go somewhere and be that number one guy. I don't fault the guy for that. Like, that's college football in 2023. I think it's a little short-sighted because the way that running back works, a guy could get dinged up and you're the number one. Like, you're going to have competition if you go somewhere else to be the number one. Like, I think you're in a great spot here because you're going to get a shit ton of carries and you're one snap away from being the main guy. So they definitely wanted to keep Miles around, but Miles wanted more. That happens. The other guy I think they would have liked to have kept was Donovan Ollie, but it was made pretty clear, like, we want you to be one of those 1Bs, or those guys that are right underneath the starters. You're a great blocker, but we like your route running, but you're not going to take the top off of defense. You're going to be kind of a rotation or a situational guy. He wanted to go somewhere. He wanted more. I will never, ever, ever have a problem with a guy that looks at that situation and says, I appreciate the honesty, but, I'm going to go somewhere else and try something different. So those are the only two guys to this point, and there could be more. Who knows? But of the names that have hit, it has largely been what we've talked about. Cleaning up the locker room and then taking the bottom of the roster and giving yourself spots. Here's another thing that I don't think people realize. They needed like 8 spots in the transfer portal just to get the freshman class in.
Yeah.
So that's why when, Satterfield's talking about, we're talking about, I think there's going to be 22 to 25 guys enter the transfer portal, but there's only going to be 12 to 14 spots for transfers. They needed a bunch of those spots to backfill. So this is not, I know the overreaction. Oh my God, they're turning the whole roster over again. No, that's not necessarily what this is. Because you have to make the numbers right. Now the only number that matters is 85. So, yeah, are they probably going to add 35, 40 new guys again? Yeah, but what they want to do is do that while feeling much better about the 40 guys that are staying.
Yeah.
If you go back to last year and you start doing the math on what's happening now, it means that they kept 15 to 20 guys out of the 50 guys? Mm-hmm. There's 15 to 20 that didn't have any impact on the field.
Yeah.
And you have to change that math.
Yeah. And here's what I'll say about the Miles situation. Coming into this year, it was kind of a toss-up on who would get that lead back role between him and Corey. But I think what he's seeing it from going into next season, Corey's the guy. The coaches know Corey's the guy. The fans know Corey's the guy. I know Corey's the guy. So if he feels like he wants to at least be in a situation where he can contend for the lead back role, then I understand him leaving and not wanting to be second fiddle, especially when you know that UC's probably going to recruit another running back. So
that running back room could get interesting.
Yeah.
Bird's going to have a decision to make. Kobe's going to have a decision to make.
Bird's gone.
No, Bird did announce at some point. Okay.
Trust me, it's ingrained.
So Kobe's got a decision to make, and if Kobe leaves,
Corey and Caffey.
Yeah, you got Corey Kiner and Caffey and a portal guy or two.
Yeah, look on the hot board. There's one on there. Very fun one.
If he wants to play running back.
Don't give it away, dude. Come on.
I mean, that's not giving it away. BearcatJournal.com. 30 minutes, still 28 minutes to go to BCJ and take care of the deal and get 75% off for the next year.
Randy said here about Donovan Ollie with 2 receptions. I'll say Donovan almost never touched the field. So it's not like he was running a bunch of routes for Emory and not getting open. He was never on the field.
And when he was on the field, he was a blocker. Like it was kind of a dead giveaway with a lot of the times, which is unfair to him. When he was on the field, he wasn't exactly running a bunch of routes.
Yeah, and then you come in like next season, it's going to be Aaron Turner, Barry Jackson, and Xavier Henderson. Donovan Ollie is not going to. I don't think that he would scratch into that and be a 1, 2, or 3 over those 3.
Dylan, if there are guys that leave that the coaches wanted to keep, I will make it clear. If not, then you can assume it was, what do they call it? A mutual parting of ways.
Yeah. Agreed to mutually part ways.
What do you think about the person last week that said some people agree to disagree and that I disagree to disagree? I thought it was maybe the most perfect encapsulation of me that I've ever heard.
Who was who's he talking about? A Carter?
Trevor Carter, linebacker from
he didn't enter the portal from what I've seen.
I haven't seen either.
He was a damn good recruit. I think they'd want to keep him.
Well, Henderson coming back, I think they'd like for him to come back. I was going to make a joke about 4 stars leaving Indiana.
Oh.
But I didn't.
Yeah, Trevor Carter has not entered the portal.
No, I didn't think so.
From what I've seen.
Ty Perkins entered. Yeah, I don't. That was a weird one. I don't even know that the previous staff was fully sold on that when they took the commitment. But they did at the, and it didn't seem to work out. Garbers? Who's Garbers? I have no clue what you're talking about, Jack.
Barbers. Yeah, you're gonna have to retype that.
I mean, that's not even like a autocorrect, right?
I don't think so.
What would autocorrect Garbers?
We might be bad at our job here, Chad.
Oh, UCLA? I have no clue who's going to enter the portal from UCLA, Jack.
He's a quarterback at UCLA.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably not.
Keegan, what are your thoughts on Mr. Sorsby?
No comment. No.
He's in the portal, right? He's entering the portal, right?
Oh.
You're an Indiana guy. I'm asking your opinion on watching him play.
Watching him play, 57%. I think it was a 16-5 touchdown interception ratio right when he got the job.
With 3 of them in the last game.
When he got the job, Walt Bell was fired and he had his offensive line coach take over. So he really had the cards stacked against him. He was at the beginning of the season, everyone knew Taven Jackson was playing because he was Trace Jackson Davis's brother. I'll admit I wanted him to play and thought he was better than Brendan Sorsby. It just ended up that he wasn't. So having to win that job was tough. Did not know who he was when he committed to Indiana. Motivated kid out of Texas. Only other offer was like Abilene Christian, Navy, schools like that. So I think he's a very talented football player.
That was in a bad offense.
Yes.
A bad
pass first dual threat.
I mean, Michael Penix was in that offense, and look at him now.
That was with Nick Sheridan.
What did you just pick up off the floor and eat?
It's in a bag on the floor. Gummy bears.
Oh. Like the good kind or just like the regular kind?
Just
You're not a Haribo guy?
These are 100 times better than Haribo. Do not eat these if you do not want to become addicted to them. This is how I stay up and talk about the transfer portal.
What about the wide receiver from Indiana?
He could get drafted this year if he wanted to.
Did he declare for the draft or enter the transfer portal?
He entered the portal. He's going to get a bag from somebody. I'm just saying.
Fox?
He committed.
His friend of the program, B. Fox, going to drop him a bag?
He committed there as their highest graded quarterback recruit and then said, I don't like playing quarterback. I like playing receiver more. And then played receiver, had a good sophomore season and a really good junior season this year.
Okay. Anything else? Here's the problem we are presented with right now, Keegan. There's 166 people in this room. When there's that many people in the room, what is my instinct?
You want to keep going?
I want to sit in this room and talk until there's less than 100 people at least.
All right, that's fine.
But I know. No, I know you like you've had.
I could wake up at 6:45 and run out the door. It's not a big deal. I have to sit there and write stuff. I'm not going to
No,
do
I
anything.
don't want to, I want you to be chipper for your substitute teaching in the morning.
Here, click on what Randy just said, since I can't click on any comments. I do not understand why it is being like just kind of thrown out there, reported that Cam Ward is being offered $1 million by 10 different programs, when one, he's not in the portal, so can't be contacted, and the portal hasn't opened. So he can't be contacted by anyone, and definitely can't be offered dollar figures. And it was just open that Washington, Oregon.
Oh, yes, you can.
It's tampering.
Not legally. Sure. You don't think tampering happens?
But it's like, okay, people were like, oh, tampering's just out in the open now, like talking to people about money. But that's usually when the portal is at least open. Like, he's not even in the portal and it's not open. He just played his last game.
Yeah, but people
Saturday.
are lining up.
But you
lining up. He can't, but people around him can. That's the correct answer. Like his high school coach or his 7-on-7 coach or someone that is not directly related. Like we've been, Keegan, we've been doing this in basketball for a long time. A long time. But then, it's not what it's supposed to happen, but the NCAA doesn't have any teeth anymore, so nobody cares. Nobody cares. This shit's happening everywhere right now. What did I say the other day? This is the legal, illegal tampering period. When the season ends and the portal doesn't open for a week, we are now legally, illegally tampering. It just is what it is. Like
my introduction to how like the landscape of the new age of college football is last year. There's a certain quarterback. It's a really good player. He's going to enter the portal and he's probably going to get paid big bucks to go play somewhere this next season. But he wasn't in the portal officially, but he played at a small school, so I figured he would because he had a really good year. So I DM him. I'm like, hey, man, saw some Indiana coaches followed you. I want to see if you had any interest in Indiana, if you were going to enter the portal, that type of thing. And I very plainly laid it out that I wrote for the Hoosier.com. I was a writer, just if he could help me out, any info at all. He says, my plan is to stay at blank school unless there is a sufficient dollar figure to get me to go to your school. And then I said, hey, man, I'm not a coach. I'm just a writer. And then he left me on red.
Right.
I was like, oh, so that's what's happening every day. Got it.
Correct. That is exactly what's happening every day. And then when the portal opens, part of like what happens when the portal opens is their number. Like when you go into the portal, it has contact information for the kid.
Yeah.
So then just everybody, like the floodgates open.
Yeah. I remember one of my buddies played O-line at Indiana and he entered and he said within 5 minutes, he had like 3 schools. Like, let's get you on campus.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to visit.
Right. Immediately.
Yeah.
Like, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Come straight on your official visit starting tomorrow. And here's the fun part, Keegan. It's the fun part. The good players haven't even started entering the portal yet.
I know. Dave had to remind everyone that today on the boards.
Yeah,
he had to
the
say,
good players haven't even started yet. This is all the bad teams. Like the bad teams players are entering right now.
I'm blowing up my people's phones, and it's not even like it's not really the consequential players. It's
right.
I had to remind myself to pull it back a little bit.
I'm going to be honest with you, Daniel. What's the largest NI amount you guys actually know a player got? I don't mess with it. Like I don't have my hands in other people's pockets. Guys get what they get. I don't care. So it's not something I actively track down. I mean, the word is Hunter, and I'm pretty confident the people that reported it, Hunter Dickinson got $2 million to go to Kansas. There was a word around, during basketball last year, the higher end guys were getting north of 700,000.
I'm assuming Archie Manning got a big chunk.
Yeah, but there's not as much that goes into the high school side of it, unless I'm sure Cooper Flagg can name his price, because that dude's going to be an NBA All-Star. I'm sure he could name his price, but high school kids aren't getting they're getting value meals. High school kids,
Yeah.
That's the bags they're getting. The transfers are getting bags, duffel bags, big ones. I don't have a great feel on the football side. I know quarterbacks are getting. There's $1 million quarterbacks that are going to be flying off the board when this thing really gets going. Yeah, but probably 6, 8, 10 of them that are going to be in that range. I would guess you take the top, 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks. They're probably all going to get, if not $1 million, pretty close to $1 million. But you have to be careful in football, man. If you got to go get 15 dudes, you start paying them all $500,000. Woo! You better have that Mike Elko money.
Look at what Todd said.
Luther Richardson's available. Oh boy. The on-3 thing is come on, it's a complete joke. I heard from a player that Xavier Henderson got 100. I mean, okay, maybe.
It's not even that much. When you think about it,
it's a lot of Cincy Light. You're right. Yeah. You're right, Thrifty Walrus. You're right. It's a lot of Cincy Light. It's fake. Yeah. I mean, look, Todd can tell you from personal experience just as much as I can. Shannon Terry's into gimmicks. He loves gimmicks. And that transfer, look, man, that guy made $300 million creating all of this. So I have no ill will towards Shannon. But he knows gimmicks get clicks get money. And so he came up with this, NIL evaluation, that there's an algorithm of how many followers you have on social media, and you tie that to the school you're going to and what they believe to be the NIL. It's all bullshit. It's not real.
He's not even welcome at UAB.
No, I mean, his high school coach is at UAB and was like, I'm good. You and your dad enjoyed JUCO.
Oh, come on.
I mean, it's one of those things, man.
I got told that story recently, and I didn't know that's what went down, and I thought that was really funny.
I honestly, Keegan, we talked about this when it happened. I feel bad for the kid. The kid was talented.
He was just lied to by people around him, basically.
No, his dad was just nuts. His dad was a strength coach in the NFL, and was somebody that thought he had it all figured out. I know how this works, and you didn't. You thought you did, but you didn't. And by the time the kid showed up, he was a good kid, but he didn't have the social skills weren't there. He struggled. I think they went to Kings Island. And everybody's doing Kings Island things. Like it was UC Day at Kings Island. And he's off like it was Coney Island. Maybe it was the like sunlight or the pool at Coney Island, something. And he's just off by himself, like eating like, you know, bland baked chicken out of a Tupperware. And everybody's like having fun and diving into the pool and like, you know, being 18-year-olds. And he just didn't have the ability to connect with anybody. And then they get to higher ground and he wasn't named the starter at the first scrimmage. So his dad pulled him. Like, get your shit. We're out of here. Like, you should be the starter. Okay.
That was when Dez was. That was when Dez
it was Ben and Prater.
Oh, okay.
So Ben and Prater were battling for the job, and Lichty was kind of even after them as a redshirt freshman, and Luther was fourth, and he thought he should be first. Like 7 days, like he had been at camp for 7 days, and he wasn't the QB1 going into the first scrimmage. So his dad pulled him, and he left. That was it. 6 days at higher ground. And now he's at JUCO doing whatever. Luther's dad thinks he's Andre Agassi's dad. Thrifty Walrus. I don't want to give away anything, but I think that might be a thing eventually.
No, gosh.
Just saying. Are you anti-liquor, Keegan? Are you're a beer only guy?
No, I don't. I mean, I will.
Would you drink this?
Yeah, I would have a glass of that on the rocks. I would. I don't care.
Hey, Todd, you never got one of these, did you?
I had a Tennessee honey and Sprite in Vegas when I watched Indiana play Arizona, and that was one of the best things I've ever tasted.
Jason, yeah, tonight I ran into a member of BCJ that works at New Riff, and he has been telling me about this bottle that he had saved for me. It is your logo, but now it's mine. I'm the captain now. Yeah, he said he had a bottle for me a while ago when we were going through everything, and then he brought it to me tonight. So I expected this, but I also got that. It's pretty sweet. Do I think anybody would take a chance on Luther?
Yeah,
it's a one-off bottle, Todd. It was just a present. I'll let them know that they might be able to sell it if they want to. I mean, it depends on how good he is at JUCO. Like if he tears it up, I'm sure somebody's going to take a shot. Again, immense talent, huge arm. Like the kid was good. Just a messed up situation. It wasn't good, I don't think.
Hold on. Golden West. Jerseys are freaking sweet. Come on.
It's great content.
I know. All right. 6'3", 225. Damn. 68.3% completion percentage. 273 yards. He was 28 for 41 on the season, so he wasn't even the starter.
I'll let you answer, Keegan. Do you like portal season?
Yeah. I do.
Look, so here's the thing that people don't understand that Todd can attest to. Once they added like the early and the late signing period, recruiting became boring because you had your class, they signed in the early signing day, like a lot. And now like with visits happening in June, which wasn't how it used to be. It used to be you were trying to cram visits in December and January before signing day. Like the whole calendar got flipped. So by the over the past 2 to 3 years, which like you covered the past 2 years for IU, signing day was pretty boring.
Mm-hmm.
It was, here's our commits. Everybody signed. You flipped them to signed. Maybe you had one decommit and like maybe you got one new guy, but it was, like it 10 years ago, signing day was a deal, bro. You were in high school, but signing day was a deal.
I was in
like
middle school.
Big deal. Middle school, right? Yeah. You didn't even have hair on your balls yet.
Oh my god.
Now it had gotten to the point where it was like, okay, all we're doing is waiting for the school to tweet out the commitment. Like that's all you were doing at that point in time. This is a lot. Ric Flair. Woo! Like there's all right. The season ended on Saturday. On Monday and Tuesday, they're going to have meetings. There's going to be 20 kids hitting the portal. There's on the back end of that, when the portal opens, there's going to be 15 new kids coming in. Like, it's go time. Here's where I know you're sick in the head like we are. I asked you yesterday and today. How you doing? Love it. Love it. Right? Like, that's how I know you're sick in the head. Because you have to be sick in the head for this to like energize you, because it's what we do. Like we crave the news cycle.
I had to go through the entire roster and make sure I was following and had everyone's tweet notifications on. So
got you. Do I think the recruiting cycle getting boring is hurt? Bottom line, I feel like there are 100 times less videos of kids with 10 hats in front of them in a gymnasium. Yeah, thank God. It's so like, here's the thing, Thrifty Walrus, and I think you'll appreciate this because you're one of our better members, one of our better commenters. Everybody knew, like 90% of those, everybody knew. The kids sat down at the table. And the people on the inside or people with any inkling of like connection knew which hat was going to be picked.
Mm-hmm.
So like all of us were just sitting there waiting for him to do the like it got away from the hat, right?
Shirt on underneath that.
Yeah. The hat was so like old school, right? It became the zip off and the Superman. But like it wasn't a surprise to anybody. So it was boring. It got boring. Oh man. What would you do, Keegan, if you were in Fayetteville for the press conference introducing Bobby Petrino as their new offensive coordinator?
He should come out in a neck brace just to mess with everyone. He really should. Like that would be so funny.
Ride in on his motorcycle with the neck brace on,
with a promiscuously dressed female on the back that isn't supposed to be on the back of the bike.
Maybe Sam Pittman's wife rides in on the back of the Harley.
No.
I mean, if you're gonna lean into the joke, right?
Or get Brian Harson's girlfriend.
All right, look, I need to let Keegan go to bed. It's midnight. He has to teach in the morning. I love all of you. The numbers you guys are putting up lately, I love you guys so much. Like we couldn't do this without you. It is Lane Kiffin's girlfriend, aka third daughter. Yeah, the portal's not going away, man. Like there's going to be different iterations and it's going to change. the same as everything does in this sport. But yeah, you better get used to it. What a show. Thank you all so much. That was fun. It wasn't a great night for the Bearcat basketball team, but it was a win. And the information on the football side is it's going to keep flowing heavy over the next couple weeks. So
subscribe to Bearcat Journal. You have 1 minute. You have 1 minute to get the new deal and get on the hot board.
Yeah.
A lot of fun names.
Keegan's going to be on it. I'm going to be on it. Dave's going to be on. Look, Dave's going to be on it. Dave doesn't even do it for. It's not part of his job description. It's in his veins.
Dave's going to make me get a new data plan.
You've got an unlimited data plan, and Dave's going to make you get a new one.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4 texts that I haven't even replied to from Dave of names he sent me.
Just since we started doing this?
No, that was since the game started.
Okay. He loves it. All right. We love you guys. Thanks again. We will tomorrow night, BCJ pod. We were gonna have Keegan, but he's busy. We'll see you next time. It's the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.